I'm looking for a very particular party of two. Where's my party of two?
Party of two right here. Hi, Santa.
I think he's still flying away.
Santa!
Oh, no, he'll be back. He'll be back.
Hi, everyone. This is Andrea Donica, one of your hosts of Party of Two.
And I'm Mark Donica, one of your other hosts of Party of Two. Good morning.
Good morning. We're doing a very Merry Christmas episode.
Yeah, so back around Thanksgiving time, we did What Park Does Thanksgiving Best, just because we didn't know what parks did Thanksgiving. So
yeah.
it served as a little bit of an education for us. But this time, we actually went through and we went to the three big California parks to determine who does Christmas best in the LA parks.
And our findings were vast and fascinating.
Yes, to the point where now, along with our Universal passes that we have and our Disney passes that we're saving back up for, we're Cedar Fair pass holders now.
Platinum pass holders.
Yeah, that's why I said Cedar Fair, not just Knott's, because we can get into any Cedar Fair park that exists.
Yeah, and it was kind of one of those last-minute decisions. The deal was so good, and
but it's also like, it's Christmas.
Well, that, and it was like, oh, parking.
Yeah, parking was a big part of it, and I mean, I don't think they had blockout dates anyway, but it was still the opportunity to possibly go to Kings Island or Cedar Fair or like any of the other places.
Big ones,
yeah,
all across the U.S.
and Canada.
Yes, Canada. So we have some fascinating opportunities coming up for the next year.
So when we have, as a result of our Knott's stuff, we actually did we took a trip to see what Knott's was like during Christmas, because there's a couple of pieces of research that we found, and so all of this that we've accumulated is between Universal Hollywood, the Disneyland Resort, and Knott's Berry Farm. You want to get into it?
Let's do it.
We have several categories, and we're going to try to determine with our discussion which of these three parks does Christmas best. So we're going to start out with something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's food. So let's talk about the best Christmas snack at all of these places.
Yeah.
We had a very potentially great snack at Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah, oh man.
It had the potential to be really good.
I mean, we have to keep in mind too that we got this late in the day.
Yeah, it was about 20 minutes left in the day.
Yeah. Though my feeling is that if you're still going to be serving any sort of food, it needs to feel fresh at the very least, even if it's not.
So one of the things that Knott's does differently than any of the other places is they do stuffed churros with like Bavarian cream, boysenberry jelly, stuff like that. So they had a candy cane shaped peppermint Bavarian cream churro. But it's weird because their stuffing mechanism can only go straight, or else it'll fire straight out the top of the candy cane before the curve. So for the curve, they dip that in white chocolate and then
sprinkles.
Sprinkle it on top. It's a little bit more of a traditional churro style than what Disneyland serves, so there's potential there. The peppermint Bavarian cream was pretty good, but it was really hard to get through.
It was a hard churro.
Yeah.
And for us, we like the soft. I mean, a little bit of a crunch, like a little bit there, but it was. This was a hard churro to keep chewing on. So
I like the concept.
Yeah.
Speaking of a concept, I like at Disneyland. We were trying to determine what to name the best holiday snack for Disney, because there's so much stuff that is variations on a theme throughout the year, but what's something that's holiday, and the classic gingerbread man, Mickey gingerbread man with the chocolate Mickey ears is one of my favorite things to get every dang year. And to walk around with and have its perfectly soft gingerbread, you get the little bit of chocolate on top, and you get to, as with any Mickey shaped dessert, you get to bite the ears off first.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way you have to do it. That's the professional way of eating anything that is Mickey shaped.
And if you have a choice for a different snack, please let us know in the comments or on Twitter at Party of Two Pod.
Yeah.
And for Universal, just because it's so silly looking.
And just delightful.
The Grinch cupcake that they have, which is just a little faced Grinch boy.
We'll add on our Twitter an image of the cupcake because it's just so funny.
Yeah.
I am in love with the design of this cupcake, really. And of course, any cupcake that you would get at a theme park, at least in our experience, has been pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I'll say.
Soft and all sorts of things like in that vein. So of these three, I know what I would pick, but I don't know what you would pick.
I'm going to go with the cupcake. The cupcake makes me so happy. Obviously, the snack has to taste good. I mean, that's one of the first things, but especially around the holidays, presentation is key. And there is just something really wonderful about looking at this little Grinch themed cupcake. he just like he's got his little angry eyes and
it's just like a squish face.
Yeah. And it's just like it's a little derpy, but it's not, and it makes me really happy to look at.
It kind of forces you to eat a cupcake in a traditional sense because you can't do the sandwich thing because there's a lot of frosting on it. Like the Santa head on it is pointed. But for me, I've got to go with the Ginger Man from Disneyland. Like it's the best thing. It's my favorite thing to the point where if it's harder to find now, that ruins Christmas for me. Yeah, maybe not that dramatic. Let's move on to best land specific theming. And we made our own choices for this, but there's one to me that's kind of irrefutable. What did you have? Let's start with Universal. What did you have for Universal?
For Universal, honestly, the entranceways for overall all parks for me is what ends up having the most decorations and theming, and any sort of presentation on, hey, what this is. And I'm actually gonna go with the entranceway for Universal.
Interesting. I would have sworn you would have said Potter.
Potter is not, they don't really add all that much extra decoration. I mean, there's a little bit, but like everything's covered in snow all year round. That's something that we have to keep in mind. And for me, it was nice to see like the other holiday bits of lighting and little wreaths and stuff that they put up. But for me, I needed, they don't have a freaking bigger tree. Like they had like little trees already kind of in the area that they put lights on and such. For me, I would need to see a giant tree in that area for me to go, okay, Potter.
Could you imagine, like, would it be a little too disruptive to the theming if they got rid of the car in the Potter queue and put a giant tree there?
They cannot touch the car.
Okay. Just because I was thinking they put that in a place to where people outside the line can see it from afar, and if you just sort of plop it out and back in with a tree, yeah. But I put Potter. But I agree with you when it comes to Universal's entrance, especially with all of the characters. As we talked on a previous episode, all of the characters dressed up in their Christmas stuff made us want to take pictures with them.
Yeah.
Which we don't always feel that need.
No. I mean, we're more focused on going to rides and checking things out. There are, certain characters if we saw them, like someone really rare. For example, if Scrooge McDuck was walking around
In a
Disneyland,
heartbeat.
we would stop everything because that's special for us.
Do you think with the new show they would switch out his old school blue coat for a new red coat?
It's possible.
Yeah.
I think, and I think that might be the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
They should probably have both.
Let's move on to Knott's. What was your favorite land-specific theming in Knott's?
The Calico area, hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down. When we were on the train and we were looking out, just with all the smoke from the bigger train. Oh, okay. So I should say we were waiting on the mine train. And just looking out, it was dark. The sun had set. There's all this smoke in the air. And they have this beautiful giant tree in the center of everything. And it's just decorated exactly how it should be for the theming. The whole area really has that classic Christmas charm.
Mm-hmm.
And that just felt so holiday-esque, so warm and fuzzy.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
Now this is going to probably come as a big surprise to you because it doesn't. I wanted to say it here because it doesn't work for another category that we're talking about. But the boardwalk to me, because we were there, we were waiting in line for hang time to go on for the very first time at the park closing. So we were just hanging out. The park was emptying out. There was like a cool fog rolling over the land. And they were playing the traditional like Peanuts theme, Christmas theme.
Yeah.
On a single guitar. And there's something about that hits really home for me because just waking up in the middle of the night, the middle of the day, the morning, and hearing a single guitar coming from my garage of my dad playing it. So, and actually, he has played this theme before, previously. He learned it on the guitar before. And that coupled with something that I wish we could have experienced. But on hang time, they have a bunch of random LED panels across the coaster baked in. Right now it has blue lights, but it also has red and green lights that it flashes every now and again. And the last ride of the night got to ride on the ride playing, while the music was playing, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, the Christmas canon, the song that everybody uses in their commercials with the Christmas lights and everything. And it ruled. Even just seeing it, and definitely missing out on actually going on it with the music, but even just seeing it is like, that's the best theme park use of that to me, because the goofy part of World of Color is amazing, and one of the best parts of that show from a technical standpoint. But in terms of utilizing the song and putting you in it, especially after riding Hang Time for how crazy that roller coaster
Oh my
is,
gosh. Yeah.
It makes me want to go back to experience that more and again. And that was, because I have a lot of country Christmas sensibilities already, which brings us to Disneyland. So Calico was great, and I really enjoyed it. But in terms of, for me, I thought that the boardwalk was and it like in terms of decorations and stuff, it was fine. But with Hang Time as its main showpiece and the atmosphere of the area, it made me feel like I was there was somebody on the boardwalk playing this song somewhere.
Yeah.
And it echoed, and because it was the end of the night, to stress, because of how empty the area was, and it was just floating through almost like a Ghost of Christmas Past or something like that. So I really like that. But when it comes to Disneyland, it's hard for me to say Calico because I picked Frontierland.
I picked Critter Country.
If it was Bear Country, you would have had me. But yeah, no, go ahead. Tell me about it.
So obviously Disneyland does amazing decorations for the holidays, but I always think of the moment that you see the Critter Country sign and they start to have the wreaths with the little pine cones and just that classic country charm walking through, and the freaking Splash Mountain
Oh, the
cue
giant.
with the giant tree just coming out, hanging out from the top of that barn has always just tickled me in a certain way that I can never get that out of my mind. And the specifically the decorations on those wreaths in that area have always been my personal favorite. So
Yeah.
that's how it is for me. At a close second would actually be It's a Small World Way.
Yeah. Yeah. Having all of the toys up on the different lighting stanchions and things like
I've
that.
always loved those.
I was
And
trying to.
I like how they're lit in a multicolored way, just like the attraction.
Mhm.
So I always love seeing that as well.
I I mean, we're all agreeing on a country aesthetic when it comes to the land specific stuff. Frontierland, the fact that it nails a Southern Californian type of thing for me because we have the bits from Rancho de Zacalo, so we have a little bit of the Mexican culture in there and a little bit of the Western culture all coming together, and it feels like home.
Yeah.
It's nice. It feels nice. So this is difficult, especially now that we've what of those three is your absolute favorite? Right?
Oh.
Right? It's difficult.
It's really hard. I mean, I'll say, and maybe it's because it's so new for me, but like I was saying when we were looking out from the Calico Mine Train, that was the first time in a while where I'm like, oh, it's Christmas.
Oh.
So I'm gonna go with Knott's.
Oh boy. Oh boy. I it feels like a little bit of a cop out. Well, I mean it's so personal with all of the boardwalk stuff to me, and all of the everything that's involved in it is such a personal recollection. It's the thing that reminds me the most of what my Christmases were like, growing up in a quote rock and roll household and having these songs around anyway and this music around, and being a roller coaster kid first, and I mean we didn't go to Six Flags, but I recall what their theming was like. I'm gonna go with Knott's for you with you specifically for that, because we were talking about with Disney, Bear Country, Frontierland, pretty similar already. It's anyway, wow, surprising. Best holiday show. So we picked, I mean, with a couple of these we only had one choice, but when it came especially except for this year actually, because World of Color never popped up at California Adventure, so we
Yeah.
went with Believe There's Holiday Magic in the Stars. And Universal, we picked the Magic of Hogwarts at Christmas. And Knott's, we went with the marquee attraction, Snoopy on Ice.
Yay, Snoopy on Ice!
Essentially. Which is, no, it's not the Merriest Christmas Ever. That was the stage show that we saw.
Yeah.
Which has Sally singing Santa Baby.
You mean Lucy?
No, I did it again.
You did it again.
Lucy singing Santa Baby, which is very uncomfortable. But Snoopy on Ice, we saw, and it's just I'd say, quote, it's just an ice skating show. But what did you think of the show overall?
I mean, it was fun, but it was so disjointed. I was hoping for a linear Christmas themed Peanuts show, and that's not what it was at all. It was very random. And I mean, in some ways you can say, oh, well, that's kind of also what the show is like. And I would agree with you, except there are these whole segments where you don't have any Peanuts characters in it whatsoever. And I mean, and let me just say about Knott's, all of the entertainment performers are incredible. They have so much energy, and really they're great at what they do. The ice skaters were wonderful to watch.
Yeah, and as we were watching it, I was going like, do go for a Lutz, go for a triple this, a double this. And there were times when people hit some pretty impressive stuff, but they're dealing with essentially a proscenium stage that's just covered in ice.
Yeah.
Which is a very small place for a skater to build up enough speed and precision to perform like Olympic level, well, not Olympic level, but competition level stuff.
Yeah.
Of what they did, really impressive. All of the pairs skates were phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at the end, when everybody came out to take a bow and it was like 8 people, you're like, wow, okay.
These quick changes are intense. Really props to the performers.
And especially on skates.
Yeah.
That's I half wonder if they start out with like just super baggy stuff and it eventually just you go down to their final. Probably
maybe.
Not.
I mean, there's definitely not enough time for them to take off their skates and then put them back on.
It's a fun spectacle for the kids. If you're looking for, it's pretty good. It's not great, but the one thing that we kept saying to ourselves is, where's Christmas Time is here?
Yeah.
The one directly Peanuts related song where you see people ice skating never happened.
And that's the one thing I was really waiting for.
Just start with it and then go into every swing rendition of every Christmas song ever.
Yes, whoever is in charge of the entertainment for Knott's is in love with swing. And don't get me wrong, I love swing too.
Mm-hmm.
There was that weird 90s.
Oh God, the bebop poetry towards the night before Christmas. That actually was a big detriment to the show.
Yeah,
because it was all kind of quiet and lit really strangely.
Menacingly, I will say, with that fireplace looking like something out of Nightmare Before Christmas.
It looked exactly like the one from Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
which kind of similar mind. But that was rough.
Tim Burton-esque.
Yeah. Of the 3 shows, I would say this is the weakest one, even though it has the most elements to it, because it's live performers, it's ice skating, it's strange randomly placed Peanuts clips. But it's the most impressive from a personal standpoint, because we can understand as performers doing a big variety show like this, then you add ice skates onto it, it's very impressive.
Oh, yeah.
But as a holiday show, when it comes to giving you them feelings, these other 2, I think, do a little bit more, and the transitions are a lot smoother.
There's also false advertising. Woodstock is with Snoopy on the marquee sign, and Woodstock is nowhere to be seen in this show. So I call shenanigans on Knott's for this one.
Yeah, you've been shenaniganed. Deal with it. Let's go to... Hey, if you want to watch a video of the magic of Hogwarts at Christmas, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/PartyOfTwoPod. And this one is the most specific.
Yes.
And you get to hear some of the best score in film from John Williams, and you get to see the magic of the castle, and you get to see the castle alive, which I love. The only detractor that I would say from this show is that they didn't plan for this show beforehand, and so trying to just sneak a peek is
not going to be possible on a busy day. It's so tight in there. But the other thing too that we have to remember is when Universal got the rights to just build Potter at all, Rowling was very, very specific in how small the area needed to actually be in terms of spacing, because it needed to feel authentic from a European standpoint. They don't build these vast, giant areas to hang out. It needed to feel intimate, just like it would be in the story.
It's literally only Disneyland Paris where you have really, really wide walkways. That's the only place in Europe with really. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just funning you. But an amazing show, a wonderful show with a little bit of pyrotechnics at the end.
And really fantastic mapping on the castle. Probably the best mapping that I've seen in a while for anything. So I really do give credit to the entertainment forces behind the show.
And with Believe, it's been going for so long, it's become a staple. And I say that as a positive thing. It's one of those things where we, at least for us, we can hear it in the different lands and get a moment with it, as opposed to having to sit and watch it. Though I have great memories of sitting with my mom and a couple of my cousins behind the castle, as close as we could get, watching the show and listening to the show and really, really enjoying it and having it's a great memory that I take with me. And with Disney, they've since you can now see it at the Small World Mall.
Yeah.
And I think with Believe starting this year, because they started doing it with all of their shows, you could also see it on the Rivers of America.
Yes.
So you can see the projections and stuff that's on the castle and listen to the music and see the fireworks. Now the fireworks, they don't line up unless you're on Main Street, but it's still, they try to maximize as many people are on watching the show as possible.
Which I think is wonderful. And thank goodness that they are trying to do that, just because the demand is so high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would that be your pick? Because it's mine.
It's mine too.
Yeah.
I will say I want to see something fresh and new, and I really wish that they would kind of do something a little different, maybe do some updates or some tweaks to the show. It's a great fireworks show. It's a great holiday show. It is, for me, the most reliable out of these different picks.
Yeah.
And
There's more of a chance to see
the most warm, fuzzy holiday feelings.
And it ends with snow.
Yeah.
Well, Hogwarts does too. Though the most magic thing that we got from that trip was it was snowing in the store. And that's where we were like,
yeah,
whoa!
Yeah, we kind of freaked out over that.
This is awesome. That magic, though. I think we would still go with Disney if World of Color, Seasons of Light, or whatever they were going to call it this year was on, because I think still of all of those shows, World of Color has a little bit extra oomph to it. Mm-hmm. And I refer to the Trans-Siberian Orchestra song again. But Disney edges the other two out. Let's talk about best holiday food. This is more of a meal as opposed to a snack. I popped on there Mrs. Knott's, the Festival of Holidays, and the Three Broomsticks Holiday Meal. Now, if you weren't hungry when we were talking about the snacks, here we go. The Knott's Christmas Holiday Dinner includes this: a 12 to 14 pound roast turkey or 8 to 10 pound glazed ham, 2 quarts of country apple stuffing, 4 quarts of mashed potatoes, 2 quarts of candied yams, 8 ounces of cranberry sauce. Here comes my favorite, 8 ounces of bread and butter pickles, 1 quart of roasted Brussels sprouts, 1 quart of whole kernel corn, 1 dozen, which isn't enough, farm-baked rolls, 2 quarts of Knott's Country Gravy. That's
Woohoo!
only half of for the mashed potatoes that you have. Butter and 4-ounce jarred boysenberry preserves and a choice of boysenberry pie or pumpkin pie. That's from Mrs. Knott's. And then from Universal, the English holiday dinner includes roast turkey with bacon-wrapped sausage served with sourdough stuffing, covered in turkey gravy, ginger glazed carrots, Brussels sprouts, and a side of cranberry sauce. And it's presented as, well, they have one of their like giant ones, but this looks like a single plate. that you can get, but it's quote a traditional British meal. And then the Festival of Holidays, we did an entire dang episode about the Festival of Holidays food. So of those three, who do you think has? I mean,
Here's the thing. For me, it comes down to when you want to eat this food. Because for Knott's, you have the most amazing take-home option. For sitting down for like one big meal that fills you, Universal checks that off. And then if you want to sample food from all over the world and try a bunch of different things, you have California Adventure from Festival of Holidays.
and I will say, if you're visiting from out of town or out of the country, the Festival of Holidays can give you that little slice of home.
Yeah.
Possibly, depending on where you're from.
And then you can try other slices of different homes.
Yeah.
For me, I am a variety type person with that, so I prefer Festival of Holidays, at least if I'm going to be visiting a theme park and doing all of that. But for me, all of these different options, it's all about when you're going to eat the food.
Yeah.
And I think that they're all great.
No, agreed. And one of my favorite things that you said when we decided to do the Knott's annual passes, the Cedar Fair annual passes, was we get to go back to Mrs. Knott's. Can we eat there? Can we eat there? Can we eat there? I was like, well, we're gonna be low on time. It's like, okay.
I was really upset. I was like ready to call and book a reservation. I have that so locked in my mind because with Disney, it is so hard.
Well, with Mrs. Knott's too, it's difficult. Anytime we've gone there previously for the at stop off in the afternoon or whatever, there's usually a lot of people waiting outside.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not been terrible.
They also
se.
expanded recently. They have another outside patio that looks like you're eating outside of a barn, which is nicer than it sounds. It's one of the you get a good look of the terrifying Death Trap Ghost Rider.
Whee!
And I say that with care. All right, let's talk about holiday exclusive merchandise.
Woo!
There's a lot with Universal. There's, of course, all of the Grinch stuff. There's Minion stuff. And we found really nice Potter Christmas ornaments and house garland, which was like, okay, all right, you can have a very Harry Potter Christmas. That's nice. Yeah. With Disney, they've got this new park holiday line it's sort of like this basic print they slap on everything, which how Disney do, as well as the year shirts, as we're very familiar with, and it's like Merry Christmas 2018.
No.
Yeah. And with Knott's, they had a lot of just Snoopy and Woodstock just plastered on shirts and hoodies and this and that. And what I liked is they had a Knott's Merry Farm shirt and pin set for $13 for both of them. That's so accessible, and knowing the type of fabric and the type of shirt that they use is a very like generic beefy tee Hanes, pretty thick sort of a shirt, but it feels more like it'll last you.
Yeah.
It's less of Disney's thing of here, buy this for a year, then next year buy another one, but more of here, have this shirt.
They also had a really cute red and black plaid long sleeve shirt that said, it was in a smaller area, and it said Knott's Merry Farm just a little on the side. And I thought that was really nice. And they had the hats too that said the same thing with the
keep it simple.
I don't know what that type of hat is called, but it's very like lumberjack-esque.
The Laplander?
I think that's what it's called.
Did I just have like a weird Jimmy Neutron brain blast?
Maybe. And yeah, it was nice and simple. And then they had a few cute, just Snoopy and Woodstock, different T-shirts, and
Yeah.
hoodies that were both in adult and children sized, in red and green, which I thought was really cute. Like if we had kids, I'd be like, oh my gosh, he's gonna wear this, and I'm gonna wear that, and you'll wear that.
The two of us would be beagles, and all of the kids would be Woodstocks.
Oh my gosh,
Just
that'd be
saying.
so cute.
Just saying. One of the things that I like too is they had big sizes.
Yeah.
I saw a particular piece of merchandise I think the Mary Farm shirts that went all the way up to 5X. Now, they did have
That's
a lot
good.
of them, but you don't see those sizes on the rack very often.
That's true.
But I mean, that's all still very basic. The theme park line at Disney is adorable.
It's amazing. They have Dumbo, like a little Dumbo vehicle with a Santa hat. They have the toy soldier, and they have this print on everything. They have it on pajamas. They have it on one of the dresses from the dress shop. They have it on Dooney and Burke purses and pieces, which I would love so much. They're just so expensive. And I love this print. I would be happy to see this print every holiday. And yeah, I want it. I want it really bad.
The one thing that I didn't like about the Disney line is there's a Scrooge, like talking about the concept of a Scrooge, and it features Donald on it. Now, I respect the lineage of the McDuck family, but you have a character that starred in your Christmas Carol and several animated series named Scrooge. Put the man on a bloody T-shirt. You know what it was? I know what it was. His licensing fee was too high.
Oh.
And Donald needed the money, so that's what it was.
You know what? Donald is always fighting for his little slice of the pie, and since he wasn't fighting with Mickey, Minnie, or Tinkerbell, he probably won out there.
Yeah, Scrooge probably would have had to slap the McDuck logo all over everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God, can you imagine like a Gucci line, but it's the McDuck logo?
Shut up. I love this idea so much. Okay, this might be something for our grand plans for design.
Go.
Because Mark and I have been talking about, making some fun Disney and parks centered merchandise on a little website to the side, and I've been toying with different designs for shirts and bags and different things for a long time, and this might just be something that has to go on there.
So and we didn't really talk too much about Universals, but they have the
Grinch stuff.
The Grinch stuff is great, but the messaging is interesting because a lot of the imagery on the T-shirts is from the book. And they sell the Grinch hands, which sort of evoke more of a Jim Carrey's Grinch. And then we have the Grinch that came out this year from Illuminations. And then there's the original movie, the Boris Karloff movie. So that, like, what if they don't have your favorite thing there? Like, oh, I want a shirt, but it's the book, and I wanted Jim Carrey's Grinch on there. What if, so... That's the only thing. Minions, you slap Santa hats on them and you're good.
Yeah.
But the ornaments were nice because you could literally fill out a tree with the amount of stuff that they had. They had the Hogwarts Express. They had Hermione's dress from the Yule Ball.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of just remarkable stuff, and there's some stuff that's directly park related, but mostly it's all here. Potter nerds, have your thing.
We want them. So
who do you think has the best merchandise?
Have to go with Disney. Disney has the most options. All three of the parks resorts have done well in this, I will say. I wanted to see a little more Grinch, actually, from Universal. There is a sleep shirt that I saw that I want really badly, where he's trying to wake up, and I'm like, that's how I feel all the time. But Disney has so many options. They also have the holiday sock set, which I thought was really, really funny. Like 12 days, like a little advent calendar, which is just hysterical to me.
Huh.
And they had options for coordinating with couples like Mickey and Minnie, and oh yeah, the red and black flannel is just like a thing this year, I think. But I mean, just everybody wears it.
Flannel's getting cheaper. It might be what it is.
Well, maybe.
And okay, I'd have to say, I would probably get more Disney stuff. But next year, as we spend more time at all of these places, I mean, if they had a Mary Farm 2XL shirt, I was gonna pick it up instantly.
Yeah.
I saw the price, and went, "Oh, I'm getting it," and then I would just have that. As opposed to Disney, where the prices are a little bit
Yeah.
restrictive, but with I have to say Disney too, just in terms of there more. Even though as we were looking through the shops at Knott's, we were like having all of these recollections of Peanut stuff that we grew up with.
I
and it's like,
really wanted to get something, and I mean, I was torn. But if we're able to stop back off, I might want to pick something up. They have this little plushy Woodstock with a Santa hat or whatever, and I was just like, I want this, but I also want that, and I don't know. I don't know.
They had a lot of Peanuts, kids stuffies, a lot of stuff that was evocative of about the same time where we were Disney obsessed as kids, where the Peanuts was still kind of all around us. It was interesting, but I have to go with Disney too. The second to last thing that we have, best Christmas tree. And this, we have the Calico Christmas tree that we talked about earlier. There are 3 trees at the Disneyland Resort. There's the tree at California Adventure by the pier. There's the tree on Main Street, and there's the tree. There's also the tree in Paradise Pier, but there's also the one at the Grand Californian.
Well, and there's also that giant tree right where the Walt and Mickey statue is.
Oh, yes, the other partner statue.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that. There's a lot of trees, so we're picking amongst those. And then at Universal, it's the Who tree. You can't. It's a now super iconic theme park look to have that just coming over Universal Plaza as you walk in and just go, wow, they did it.
Yeah.
So which of these trees, or in also Disney, what do you? Well, let's start there because that has selections. What is your favorite Disney tree?
Grand Californian, hands down. I
Not really surprised.
No. We make a special trek into Grand Californian just to see this tree. I mean, of course, we get excited to see their gingerbread house, too, which is incredible. But going to see that tree, it's just so cozy, and I love the ornaments that they use on it. I love the grand moment where you get into the lobby and you just look up and it's just
it's
massive.
Similar to the reveal of Cars Land, because you have the low ceiling and you come in and you enter and you get to see it in its glory and its massiveness. It's a very good tree. I like the tree. But going back and dipping into the personal bit, I really, really like and we're going back to boardwalks, but the Paradise Pier Pixar Pier tree that's right there in that corner, because it's a little the colors are a little bit more my style, and it's just got a little bit of a different look and representation. I'm a fan. I like it. But ultimately, I'd say it's the Halloween tree that gets you in the spirit of Christmas, because you see you're wigging out. You see a big lit tree and it's one of those things of, oh, Christmas is coming.
But it's not there during Christmas.
No, I know, but I'm just saying it.
Okay.
So of these 3 trees, what do you say? What's the best tree?
I personally love the Grand Californian tree most out of everything. I'll say, though, in terms of being iconic, it might be the Whoville tree.
I was going to say the Whoville tree.
Because the design is so unique. It's not a normal, just like pointed up tree.
It's on
tree. It's on a slant. The architecture of this tree is just wild. And anytime you're walking around and you're kind of approaching the plaza where the Whoville tree is, you see just a little bit of the top of the tree, and then you see the star on an angle, and you go, what is that?
If you don't know, you will soon.
Oh yeah, I mean, literally you have to stop and stare, and I think anyone that would be walking around would just be like, I need to look at this thing.
I think it's the most eye-catching.
Yeah.
And especially at night where it's completely lit, and they do not necessarily light shows, but there's lighting design on it to where it's not just a lit tree, but it flows up. It's like LEDs, so it changes color. It's an interesting tree all around, day or night, to go in and look at.
And the other thing too is Universal uses that as a centerpiece, which they put a lot of entertainment offerings around, which I think is really smart and captures the story of the Grinch.
I even think they do the circle where they do Fahu for the Christmas song, or they do something like that, or they lead a sing along, something like that. I'm pretty sure it exists there.
Yeah.
And actually, something that I forgot to bring up in another part that they offer this year, they have cans of Who Hash, which is one of my favorite deep cuts that any theme park has done, because you can get a roast beast sandwich at one of the many cafe locations, but you can get a can of Who Hash, which is just ridiculous. It's just like beef and potatoes with gravy and onions and stuff, but it's silly, and it's one of those things that goes, oh dang, really? They got that? Oh boy. All right. So I'm also saying the Who tree, because it's a different feeling. It's interesting. It's interesting. That's the best way. Now, the last thing that we're going to be talking about is best overall atmosphere at some of these places. And one of the things on my list that I wanted to include for this was accessibility. And Universal has a 2-part plan that I think Downtown Disney is missing, and Knott's is missing a little bit, where no matter where you park, where you come from, you have to go through City Walk in one way, shape, or form. Well, unless you pay for the VIP parking and you're right at the door or get dropped off. But for the majority of people, you have to walk through City Walk. And that's an experience in and of itself, because you get a traditional Americana feeling. And I don't mean the shopping center, the Americana, but you get a traditional Americana feeling of the hustle and bustle of the holidays. And you get to see the giant King Kong with a Santa hat holding a thing of mistletoe. There's just a lot of small things that City Walk does that helps ramp up we're about to do something really cool. And then you see all of the Grinchmas stuff. There's piles of presents and little Christmas trees, and the entryway that just builds it up a little bit more and more. Whereas with Knott's, if you park in one lot, you get to walk down a traditional, like, small town main street before you get in. And a lot of the wares are homemade. There's the place where we got Jessica's stuff the last time that was closed by the time we got there. A lot of handmade, kind of tchotchke, but very, very much like small town America.
Yeah.
And then with Downtown Disney, unless you walk or are staying at the hotel, you don't get the experience of walking through hustle and bustle. And that's something where I think I went to just City Walk with my mom because City Walk has its own giant tree.
Yeah.
And Santa was there outside of the movie theater, and it was a fun time to just walk around and be in it without having to necessarily worry that, oh, we're going to a mall. It's a different thing. And so I think in terms of getting there and getting through and ease of access, I think Universal is one of the easiest places to fit and to get and fit into the park.
I will agree with that. However, I will say that for best overall atmosphere,
Well, that was just for accessibility.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll agree with the accessibility thing. Universal has that, but we also have to keep in mind too that in terms of accessibility for their one nighttime holiday show being for the castle, that isn't the most accessible.
Yeah. And in terms of treats and food and all of this stuff, the other parks have in terms of snacks, I think Disney and Knott's are equally as accessible because they have the places outside the park. Like you can go to Marceline's and get a Gingerman or whatever, or you can go to the bakery and get boysenberry whatever, or go to the shops and get boysenberry taffy, this, that, which is the marquee stuff. Not necessarily the peppermint churro, but you can still go to Knott's and get Knott stuff without having to go in. But when it comes to the food, there isn't anything you have to buy a ticket to go to Festival of Holidays. Whereas with Knott's, you can just go and have a nice chicken dinner with your family or take it home for your family.
Yeah.
So there is that. So if people are like, wow, they're really Knott's leaning, that's the place where we went the most recently. But in overall, music as well and placemaking, it's hard to deny Disney. It really, really is.
I'm gonna go with Disney for best overall. You look really torn.
I'm a little torn because
I mean, it's hard. And you know what? This is a great thing because all of these resorts, they are stepping up their game. Like, apparently this year was the most that Knott's was doing decorations and everything else
it showed
than they ever have. And it really does show. And it's great when everyone is trying to match or best each other because then we as guests get the best experiences.
I would say also something that we didn't talk about at Knott's is they had the crafter, like the home crafter booths.
Yeah.
That were all around,
which was really nice.
Yeah, and we talked to one of the folks where you bought something for somebody.
Yeah.
But they had also, oh man, they had the fresh wood carving where they had several
which was
places.
Amazing.
Several places that were doing live wood carving demonstrations, and they just had fresh stuff around, and deforestation and all that, and all, but it's a nice down home feeling. It's one of those things of even though we're in Buena Park and in a theme park, it's still like, oh, I feel like we're in a small town.
Yeah.
And it in a good way.
The little shop that I bought from was a geode and a crystal rock specific booth, and the shopkeeper that was there, she was talking about her husband who was going rock picking, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is real, like this is so cool.
This isn't somebody who works here that is manning this booth. This is somebody. They made all of this stuff.
Yeah, which is just, it's nice that it's personal. I get really happy to see small businesses being put front and center and being supported by theme park business as well for special events. actually, that's one of my favorite type of shopping experiences to have.
A more personal one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting because a lot of Knott's has a lot of stuff that's more personal to my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of stuff that hits more. Disney has become one of our traditions and become a normalized thing, to the point where, as you know, we've got a whole bunch of music from the various lands of Christmas music, and at least for the past 4 years or so, I've incorporated some form of Disney area Christmas, just Disney Christmas music area loop into decorating at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Whether it's here, whether it's at my familial home, or whatever, I've incorporated it into just, this is the atmosphere that we want for in here. So it's hard to not say Disney for that. So we did pretty good. All right. We're trying to not show our Disney bias that much, but there's some stuff that Disney just does better.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of great offerings at all of this stuff, and there's still time. Most of these holiday experiences end at like July 6th.
January 6th is the last day that the parks are mentioning for their holiday offerings. So you still have time to go check out anything that you like and get into the holiday spirit.
Get into the holiday spirit. Speaking of getting the holiday spirit, right before we go, you see that big red box under the tree, Andrea? Why don't you pick that up?
Okay.
If you can get it through.
Okay.
We have a dwarven tree that was forged in the mountains. So there's a present that, hold on, look at the label. Who's it from?
It's from Mr. Bluebird.
All right, let's take a look and open that. Here's some sweet present unwrapping ASMR for everybody. She's freaking out. So, go ahead and tell the folks what it is.
It's the Disney Parks limited edition pop figure of Splash Mountain with Brer Rabbit and Brer Bear riding down on a log with water splashing.
So there was a morning where one of the news outlets that we follow tweeted out, "Hey, these are back in stock," and that's when I said, "Hey, I got you something else," because I ordered it on the spot. And I was just like, "Okay, now get here."
Wait, did you drive to get it? Or?
No. I delivered it to my folks' house just in case.
Oh, so it like popped back up on like the website?
On Shop Disney.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was super lucky, and it's a lot bigger than I expected.
It's glorious.
So with that, from our family to yours, we hope that you have a wonderful Christmas. We hope that if you've had other holidays past, that you've enjoyed them. We've got New Year coming up, and we appreciate your listenership and you coming along with us on this ride.
Yeah.
But before we go, before this, we keep hearing jingling up in the skies, so we figure that this man wants to take us on some sort of a journey. Andrea, where can the folks find you on the internet?
You can find me at Dole Whip Drea on Instagram and on Twitter.
You can find me at Mark B. Donica everywhere where Mark B. Donicas are sold. And you can follow the podcast at Party of Two. If you've noticed, we've switched over and are available on more podcast feeds. So if you've had trouble listening to us before, now you have a better chance thanks to our friends at Anchor. But we're going to go enjoy Christmas. We hope you do the same. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next sleigh ride.